The first time Clara Bennett met Julian Hart, he didn't even look up. She stood at the edge of his glass-walled office, sunlight glinting off the towering windows that overlooked half of Manhattan. Her coat was too thin for winter, her boots scuffed from walking 4 blocks because she couldn't afford a cab, and her hands, clenched tightly around a cracked leather purse, trembled just enough to betray her calm. Behind the desk sat the man himself, Julian Hart, CEO of Hart & Wolff Corporation. Net worth, unimaginable. Power, absolute. Eyes, cold steel. Currently fixed on a stack of acquisition contracts like she didn't exist. "I said 5 minutes," he muttered without glancing up. Clara opened her mouth, then closed it. She wasn't used to being invisible, but then again, she wasn't used to billion-dollar offices or men who looked like walking Wall Street fantasies either. When he finally looked up, his gaze pinned her like a nail to a wall. Sharp jaw, dark undercut hair, the kind of tailored charcoal suit that whispered custom made. The kind of man who made other men second-guess themselves in a boardroom. "You are Clara Bennett," he said. She nodded, voice caught in her throat. "Yes." "You're smaller than I expected." She blinked. "Excuse me?" "Not in height," he clarified with the flicker of a smirk. "In presence." Clara squared her shoulders. "I didn't come here to impress you, Mr. Hart. I came because you requested a meeting, said it was about my father's business." He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "I said it was about saving it." That made her heart skip. She took a breath. Is that actually possible?" Julian didn't smile. "I don't offer charity, Miss Bennett, but I do offer deals." She swallowed hard. "What kind of deal?" He opened a drawer, pulled out a thin black folder, and slid it across the desk. Inside were papers, crisp and threatening. A contract. "Your father's sawmill is days away from foreclosure. It would be inconvenient for me, for reasons I won't get into, but I could fix it, instantly." Clara stared at him. "Why would you care about my family's company?" He looked her in the eye. "Because I need a fiancé." Silence fell like snow. "Excuse me?" "A fake one," he clarified, flipping to a page in the contract. 3 months, appearances only. In public, we're the perfect couple. In private, we stay out of each other's way. You smile for the press, I keep your father's company afloat." She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You want me to pretend to be your fiancé?" Julian didn't blink. "Yes." "And what? Wear designer dresses and kiss you in front of cameras?" "If necessary." She laughed, but it wasn't funny. "Why me?" He leaned forward, expression unreadable. "Because you have nothing to lose, and because you're not the kind of woman to fall in love with someone like me." Her heart pounded. "You don't know that." Julian's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Don't I?" Clara pushed the folder away. "This is insane. I don't even know you." "You don't have to," he said smoothly. "You just have to look like you do." She stood up. "I'm not for sale." He rose with her, and suddenly he was too close. Tall, sharp, powerful. "Everyone has a price, Clara. Yours just happens to be a sawmill." She should have walked out. She should have screamed, or laughed, or thrown the folder at him. But instead, she hesitated. Her father had worked 40 years building that business. It was the only thing he had left after her mother died. And now he was in the hospital, stress eating him alive. Clara looked up at Julian Hart. Cold, calculated, unreadable. "I want it in writing," she said quietly, "that my father keeps full ownership. No backdoor clauses, no quiet acquisitions." He didn't blink. Done. "And if I walk away early?" "You won't," he said, "because I'll own you the second you sign." She clenched her jaw. "I'm not yours." "Not yet." That night, she sat in her tiny apartment under flickering lights, rereading the contract for the 5th time. 3 months. Appearances only. No intimacy required. Confidentiality absolute. It felt like selling her soul. But the truth was, her soul wasn't worth much anymore, not compared to her father's legacy. Clara signed the contract. The next morning, a black car waited outside her building. Inside was a box. Inside the box was a ring. Not just any ring. An 8-carat diamond in a platinum band so blinding it looked fake. But it wasn't. And neither, from this moment on, was she. The car smelled like expensive leather and power. Clara sat in the back seat, palms sweaty despite the winter chill. The diamond on her finger glittered unnaturally, cold and too big, like it didn't belong to her hand, like it never would. Julian Hart sat across from her, legs crossed, dressed in a dark navy Tom Ford suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. His steel gray eyes scanned his phone without a word, perfectly at ease with the silence stretching between them. She hated how he looked so composed. "You could at least pretend this is awkward," she said. Julian glanced up, one brow raised. "I don't pretend. That's your job." Clara rolled her eyes. Right, the charming, smiling, obedient fake fiancé. He looked at her then, really looked at her. "I don't need you to be obedient. I need you to be convincing." She opened her mouth to respond, but the car came to a smooth halt in front of a sleek skyscraper of black glass. Julian slid his phone into his coat. "Ready?" "No," she muttered. He smirked. "Too bad." Outside the car, flashing cameras met them like a swarm of locusts. Photographers shouted his name. Someone screamed hers, though they couldn't possibly know it. Not yet. Julian didn't flinch. He reached for her hand, lacing his fingers through hers. His grip was warm, firm, almost possessive. Clara stiffened. "Relax," he said, without moving his lips. "You'll draw suspicion." She smiled. It was fake, but so was everything else. They walked together through the revolving doors into the gleaming lobby of Hart & Wolf. Cameras followed them to the elevator, to the executive floor, and into a massive marble conference room where the board of directors waited like hawks in $1,000 suits. Julian didn't sit. "This is Clara Bennett," he announced, "my fiancé." The room went still. Clara swallowed hard as 30 pairs of eyes assessed her, judged her, dismissed her. One man chuckled, "You move fast, Hart." Julian didn't blink. "Efficiency is a virtue, Daniel." The rest of the meeting blurred. Clara sat beside Julian in her borrowed designer coat, her fake engagement ring catching the light every time she lifted her hand. Her smile never reached her eyes, but she played her part. Until she walked in. Isabel Monroe. Tall, blonde, legs for days, dressed in red that clung like sin. The woman looked like a perfume ad and stared at Clara like she was lint. Julian purred, "You didn't return my call." Clara felt the room shift, like the air had thinned. Julian didn't flinch. "I was busy." Isabel's gaze dropped to Clara's hand. "Clearly." Clara smiled sweetly. "And you are?" The blonde smile didn't reach her eyes. "An old friend. Very old." Julian's jaw tightened. This isn't the time. But Isabel didn't care. She walked around the table, placed a hand on Julian's shoulder. "You never did like to be alone. So who is she, really?" Clara's blood boiled. She didn't know why. "I'm the woman marrying him," she said quietly. "And you?" That shut Isabel up. The boardroom watched in silence as the tension settled like fog. Julian stood abruptly. Meeting adjourned. He didn't wait. He took Clara's hand again, led her out of the room, down the hall, and into the elevator. Only once the doors shut did she pull her hand away. "Who was she?" Clara asked. "No one that matters." Clara laughed. "She looked like she mattered." Julian said nothing. His jaw was rigid. "You don't like being questioned, do you?" He looked at her then, eyes unreadable. "I don't like distractions. "I'm not a distraction," she said, lifting her chin. "I'm your fiancé, remember?" His eyes flicked down to her lips and back again. "Right." They rode the rest of the way in silence. Back at his penthouse, Julian handed her a glass of wine and sat on the armrest of his sofa, watching the skyline. "You handled today well," he said at last. Clara sipped. "Even with your ex practically crawling over you?" He smirked, especially then. She hated how her cheeks warmed. "She won't back off," Clara said. "I know. She's still in love with you." Julian's expression darkened. "Then she'll be disappointed." Clara sat across from him, the ring on her hand heavy now. She stared at it, then at him. "Why me?" she asked again, quieter this time. Julian looked at her. Steel gray eyes met soft hazel ones. "Because you look like someone who won't break." She blinked. "I've seen what happens when people fall in love with me," he continued. "They break. You won't." Clara's throat tightened. "You think love ruins people?" "I know it does." She looked away. Maybe that was why he'd picked her. Because he thought she was unbreakable. Maybe he was wrong. Clara wasn't sure what unnerved her more, the penthouse or the man who owned it. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows as Manhattan shimmered below, dressed in borrowed elegance. A soft cashmere sweater, silk pants tailored to perfection. Nothing she could afford on her own, but everything Julian Hart considered standard. "This place feels like a museum," she murmured. Julian, standing behind the kitchen island in a black button-down rolled at the sleeves, didn't look up. "I prefer clean lines." "It's not just clean," she said. "It's cold." He finally glanced over. "You didn't sign up for warmth, Clara." "No," she replied, walking over to the glossy white marble kitchen counter. "I signed up to be your lie." Julian poured 2 glasses of wine. A well-compensated one. Clara didn't take the glass. "Do you always deal with things by buying them?" He tilted his head slightly, watching her. "People like categories. If I'm rich, I'm heartless. If you're struggling, you're honest. It's easier that way." "And you?" she asked. "Which category do you think I fall into?" "You," he said, holding her gaze, "are a contradiction." She blinked. Was that almost a compliment? "Don't push your luck." She took the wine. The next morning came fast and harsh. Julian tossed her a crisp folder over breakfast. Inside were pages of talking points, background stories, timelines, key dates. "You memorized your high school musical," he said, without looking up from his coffee. Clara narrowed her eyes. "You did a background check on me." He didn't deny it. They spent hours rehearsing the lie. How they met, at a charity gala 6 months ago. How he proposed, on a rooftop under fireworks. Her favorite flower? Peonies. His? He didn't have one. They practiced how to hold hands like they'd done it 1,000 times. How to argue without raising eyebrows. How to laugh at nothing. Clara hated how easy it started to feel. By Friday, the lie had gone public. The New York Times headline read, "Billionaire Julian Hart is off the market. Meet his fiancée, Clara Bennett." They were photographed leaving a charity auction, her in a soft blush satin gown, him in a black tuxedo that looked like sin and money. He held her waist like he meant it. She smiled like she didn't feel hollow. They pulled off the act so well that the press dubbed them America's Ice Prince and his Rose. But the illusion cracked when they got back into the car. Clara exhaled hard. "I hate all of this." Julian loosened his tie. "That makes 2 of us." "They think we're perfect," she muttered. "They think what I tell them to." She looked at him. "And what about Isabel?" Julian turned his gaze to the window. "She'll play nice, for now." "You sure about that?" "No," he said, "but I'm sure I don't care." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The ring was on her nightstand, still glittering like a promise she didn't believe in. Her thoughts spun about her father, about the contract, about Julian's words. "You won't break." She thought of how he'd touched her lower back at the event, how he whispered things in her ear only for show, how for a moment she'd almost believed it. The door to the guest room creaked open. Julian stood in the doorway, unshaven, sleeves rolled, barefoot. "I heard you moving," he said. "Couldn't sleep?" She shook her head. He crossed the room and sat on the edge of her bed, keeping his distance. "You're doing better than I expected. That's supposed to flatter me? Just meant you're tougher than you look." Clara studied him. The man was a contradiction himself, sharp lines and careful control, but beneath it, something bruised, guarded. "Why me?" she asked again, not for the first time. Julian looked away. "Because you didn't want anything from me. You sure about that? You wanted to save someone, not destroy me." Her chest tightened. "That's a pretty low bar." He stood up. "It's the only one that matters." She watched him turn to go. "Julian," he paused in the doorway. "You're not as heartless as you pretend to be." He didn't respond, but the flicker of something crossed his face. Not warmth, not softness, but something. And then he was gone. Clara stared at the ring on the table, turning it slowly between her fingers. Fake love, real lies. She was falling into something she didn't understand, and it terrified her more than the lie itself, because the longer she stayed, the more real it all began to feel. Clara hadn't seen her father in 3 weeks, not because she didn't want to, but because every part of her new life demanded she play a role, appear at galas, smile for press, sit beside Julian in boardrooms like she belonged in a world lined with marble and silence. But today, she had insisted. Julian didn't protest. He simply sent a black car and a note. "He's lucky to have a daughter like you, Jay." She folded it carefully and tucked it into her coat pocket. Her father's room at the rehab facility was quiet. He looked thinner, older than she remembered, but his eyes lit up the moment she entered. "Clara," he whispered, reaching for her hand. She sat beside him, squeezing back tears. "Hey, Dad." "I saw you on the news," he said with a raspy smile. "They say you're marrying a billionaire." Her throat tightened. "Yeah, weird, right? You always were the smart one," he joked. "Coulda landed a prince if you wanted." She laughed softly. "Julian's not a prince." "No," her father said thoughtfully. "But he's not a villain either. Not if he saved our business." Clara froze. "I know about the foreclosure," he said gently. "I wasn't completely out of it." "You don't have to worry about any of that," she said quickly. "It's handled." He nodded, squeezing her hand. "Just promise me you're okay, that you're not pretending for my sake." She opened her mouth, then closed it. What could she say? That the man she was supposedly engaged to was starting to feel real in moments he shouldn't? That sometimes when he touched her, just a brush of fingers or a steadying hand on her back, it left echoes long after? So she lied again. "I'm okay." Later that night, Clara returned to the penthouse with a headache and a tired soul. She didn't expect Julian to be home, but he was. Standing in the kitchen in dark gray slacks and a black cashmere sweater, sleeves pushed up, barefoot. He looked so painfully human in that moment that she hesitated. "You're home early," she said. He poured her a glass of wine and slid it across the island. "Figured you could use something." She took a sip. "How'd you know I went to see my dad?" "I arranged the security detail," he said simply. "You didn't really think I'd let you go without protection, did you?" She set the glass down. "You don't have to watch me like I'm a liability." "I'm not," he said, walking around the counter. "I'm watching you like you're mine." The words hit her harder than they should have. She backed up a step. "Don't say things like that." "Why?" he asked softly. "Because you'll believe me?" "No," she whispered, "because I already do." Julian looked at her, his expression shifting, cracking. He stepped closer, slowly, testing. "You're not the only one who forgets it's fake sometimes," he said. Then he reached out, fingers brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. It was barely a touch, but it burned. Clara's breath hitched. "What happens when it ends?" Julian's voice was low. "What if I don't want it to?" Silence. Then the soft buzz of her phone shattered the moment. She stepped away. "We shouldn't. I know. She left before she could change her mind. That night, Clara dreamed of a wedding. Not her fake one, a real one. Her hand in his, her lips on his, her father watching with quiet pride. Everything soft, golden, honest. And then she woke up, alone, with a ring that didn't belong to her, and a man who might never either. Julian Hart was not a man who lost control. Not in meetings, not in negotiations, not in bed, and definitely not over a woman. But Clara Bennett was eroding his rules, quietly, like water on stone. She wasn't demanding, she didn't play games, she didn't try to seduce him, which made the temptation even worse. Because she didn't want him. Not really. She wanted to save her father, protect her dignity, keep her world intact. She didn't want him, and that made him want her more. Julian, his assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your fiancé is here." He looked up just as Clara walked in. She wore a pale blue dress cinched at the waist, with soft fabric that fluttered around her knees. Her long chestnut hair was tied in a low bun, tendrils loose around her cheeks. Minimal makeup, delicate earrings, and that damn ring that kept catching the light. She looked like spring. Julian stood without realizing it. "I thought we agreed to meet for lunch, not storm my office," he said. "I need 10 minutes," she replied, closing the door behind her. "And I didn't want an audience." He leaned against the desk. "Something wrong?" Clara took a breath. "The tabloids are digging." He frowned. "They found out about my dad's debts," she said. "They're twisting it, saying I targeted you, that I got pregnant to trap you." Julian's eyes darkened. "You're not pregnant," he said flatly. "Obviously," she said, "but tabloids don't care." He stepped forward, eyes sharp. "I'll shut them down. Can you do that?" "I can do worse." The silence stretched between them. "I didn't come here for protection," she said. Julian tilted his head. "Then why did you come?" "To ask you something." She walked closer, stopping just a foot away. "What happens when this becomes too real?" He didn't answer. She reached up, fingers brushing the edge of his jacket lapel. "What happens when people stop seeing it as fake?" Julian stared at her. "Then I suppose we'll have to lie harder." Her smile was small. "You're good at that." "I wasn't lying," he said, voice low, "when I said I wanted to keep you safe." His hand brushed her wrist, just a graze. Her skin reacted before she did. She stepped back. "I should go." "Clara." She turned. "I like the way you say my name," he said quietly. "No one says it like that." She blanked. "Like what?" "Like I'm a person." The gala that night was chaos. Photographers, champagne, men with grins like knives. Clara held Julian's arm as they walked the carpet. The diamond on her finger sparkled under a dozen flashing bulbs. "Clara, over here!" "Julian, is it true she's pregnant?" "Clara, how does it feel to be New York's most envied woman?" She kept her smile fixed. Julian didn't flinch. Inside the ballroom, strings played soft jazz under golden lights. Waiters passed silver trays. Clara reached for a flute of champagne, but Julian stopped her hand. "They'll use that shot to prove the rumor." She sighed. "Right." He swapped her glass with sparkling water. "You can thank me later. Or slap you." Julian grinned. "I'd take either." Later, when the speeches ended and the music swelled, Julian led her to the dance floor. Clara froze. "I don't waltz," she whispered. "You don't have to," he said. "Just follow me." He placed one hand on her waist, the other holding hers gently. Her body tensed. But as the music moved, so did they. Slow, intentional, like they weren't lying to anyone. Her head tipped toward him without meaning to. His lips brushed her ear. "You're beautiful tonight." "That's in the script?" "No," he murmured. "That one was mine." She looked up. For one breathless second, she thought he might kiss her. And for one reckless second, she would have let him. But the music stopped. The lie remained. The morning after the gala, Clara stood barefoot in the penthouse kitchen, wearing a borrowed cream-knit sweater that hung loosely off one shoulder. The hem brushed her thighs, and the sleeves swallowed her hands. She was alone, at least she thought she was, until she turned and saw Julian. He leaned against the doorway, fresh from a run. Sweat clung to his black athletic shirt, outlining the sharp planes of his chest and arms. His dark hair was damp, slightly tousled, and for once, he looked real, human. "You're up early," he said. She shrugged. Couldn't sleep. "Still thinking about the tabloids?" Clara shook her head, turning back to pour coffee. "No, just everything." He moved closer. "You danced well last night. You led well." "I always do." She smiled despite herself. "That sounds exhausting." Julian took the mug from her hands and set it down. "Try living it." Their eyes met, and the silence stretched again. That invisible string between them pulled tight. "Julian," she said softly, "what do you actually want from this? From me?" He didn't blink. "What do you want from me?" She hesitated. "Not to be a pawn." He nodded, just once. "Then stop acting like one." The words hit her harder than they should have. That afternoon, the illusion shattered, just a little. Clara met with Julian's head of PR for their next appearance, another charity gala, another round of playing house. "You'll wear red," the woman said crisply. "It's Julian's preferred power color." Clara frowned. "Power color?" "It makes you look less of a victim," she added, checking her tablet. "We don't want another weak heiress narrative." Clara bit her tongue. Victim, pawn, scripted perfection. She wasn't any of those things. Was she? The dress arrived in a white box with gold foil lettering, red satin, backless, fitted like second skin. Clara stared at herself in the mirror. She looked nothing like the girl from the sawmill town, nothing like the daughter who used to paint her father's fingers for fun when she was 5. This version of Clara wore fire and diamond. And next to Julian, he in a midnight black tuxedo, his cufflinks gold, watch glinting like silent wealth. They looked exactly like what the world wanted. Too perfect to be real. Too broken to admit it. They didn't speak much in the car. He glanced at her once when she wasn't looking. Her lips were bare, her eyes darker than usual. She smelled like citrus and rain. "I'm sorry," he said suddenly. She turned. "For what?" "For making you wear red when you clearly hate it." Clara blanked, caught off guard. "That's the first time you've apologized." "It won't happen again," he said lightly. But she saw it, just for a second, a flicker of something behind the mask. The gala was held in a glass-roofed atrium glittering with chandeliers. Their names were announced like royalty. Clara played her part. She smiled. She held Julian's arm. She said the right things. And then she saw Isabel. Again. The woman looked like winter. Icy blue gown, diamond choker, frozen smile. She drifted toward them like a predator. "I hear congratulations are in order," she said, eyes on Clara. Julian tensed. Clara smiled sweetly. "Thank you. I'm surprised you're still in the country." Isabel's laugh was soft and cruel. "I couldn't miss a show like this." Julian stepped between them. "Don't start." "Oh, I'm not starting anything. I just hope you remember how this ends." She walked away. Clara looked at Julian. What did she mean? He didn't answer. That night, back at the penthouse, Clara pulled off the red dress and stood in the mirror again. Same face, same eyes, but something inside her had shifted. She walked out to the living room, where Julian sat with a glass of scotch, sleeves rolled up, staring at nothing. "She's not wrong, is she?" Clara said quietly. Julian didn't move. About what? How this ends? He looked at her, and his voice was low. "Everything ends, Clara." She stepped closer. "And what if I don't want it to?" He stood, walked toward her, close enough to touch, close enough to ruin. But he didn't. He looked down at her lips, and then turned away. "Then we both have a problem." It rained the day Clara moved into Julian's country estate. Not because she wanted to, because the press had gotten too close. One photographer had nearly broken through the penthouse garage gate. Another had climbed onto a balcony 3 floors up. It wasn't safe. Not for her, not for Julian, and definitely not for the lie they were living. So Julian offered the house in upstate New York. Private, guarded, far enough from Manhattan to disappear for a while. He didn't ask. He just said, "Pack a bag." Clara didn't argue. But she wasn't prepared for what greeted her there. The Hart estate wasn't a house. It was a fortress, carved into the hills, framed by pine trees and silence, stone columns, vaulted glass windows, a view of the lake that made everything else seem small. She stood in the foyer, dripping rain and uncertainty, staring at the high ceilings. "Do I get a wing to myself or just a tower?" she joked, wiping her boots on the mat. Julian, setting down her bag, didn't smile. "I thought you might like the quiet." She glanced at him. He wasn't wearing a suit, just a black sweater and dark jeans. Still sharp, still Julian, but less. "Quiet's dangerous," she said, "only if you're hiding from something." They settled into the estate like 2 strangers trapped by a snowstorm. Julian took the west wing, Clara the east. They passed in kitchens, shared space in the living room, ate opposite each other at the long mahogany dining table. She read by the fire. He answered calls behind closed doors. They barely touched. But the silence between them was alive. It crackled when he brushed past her. It stretched when they reached for the same coffee mug. It hung in the air like thunder that hadn't fallen yet. On the 3rd night, the power flickered. Storm. "Looks like we're in for a show," Julian said, stepping out of his office. Clara stood by the window, watching lightning ripple across the lake. How dramatic. He joined her. "Fitting, don't you think?" She looked up at him. "Do you ever get tired of the performance?" Julian didn't answer right away. Then, every day. Dinner that night was quiet. She cooked, he watched. "You surprise me," he said as she set the table. "Because I can cook? Because you act like this isn't hell." Clara shrugged. "Sometimes pretending is easier than feeling." Julian took a slow sip of wine. "What are you pretending not to feel right now?" She met his gaze across the candlelit table. "Safe." His throat bobbed slightly. "Don't do that," he said softly. "What?" "Say things that aren't part of the script." "Why?" she asked. "Because if I do, you might start feeling them too?" Julian stood abruptly, chair scraping back. "I'm going for a walk." She didn't stop him. Hours passed. Rain lashed the windows. Wind howled down the chimney. The house groaned. Clara waited. But Julian didn't return. So she grabbed a flashlight and went looking. She found him outside, drenched, standing on the dock at the edge of the lake. Hair soaked, sweater clinging to him, hands in pockets. "You'll get sick," she called over the wind. Julian didn't turn. She walked to him, heart pounding. "What are you doing?" He finally looked at her. "I used to come here as a kid," he said, "before everything was about power, before money turned people into vultures." Clara stepped beside him. "Why did you bring me here?" He didn't answer. So she asked again. "Why me, Julian?" Finally he turned, face unreadable, voice low. "Because you see me, and that scares you?" He nodded once. "Terrifies me." She reached for his hand. He let her. For a long time, they stood in the storm, not touching, not kissing, not pretending, just breathing. Close enough to feel the truth between them. And for once, the silence didn't crack. It healed. Clara couldn't sleep. The rain had stopped, but her thoughts hadn't. Julian's words from the dock echoed in her mind. "Because you see me. That terrifies me." He wasn't just a lie anymore. He was a man with fears, with shadows, with a pulse she could feel even from across the room. She shouldn't have gone to his door, but she did. Julian opened it on the second knock. Barefoot, towel around his neck, black t-shirt clinging to his chest. He looked surprised, but only for a second. "Can't sleep?" Clara hesitated. "No." He stepped aside. She entered. The room was dark, save for the fire burning low in the stone hearth. Everything smelled like cedar, cologne, and something undeniably him. "I can go if this is—" "Stay," he said. One word, quiet, final. She sat on the couch. He poured 2 glasses of scotch and joined her. For a while they didn't speak, just listened to the fire crack and the storm retreat. "You don't do this often," she said. "Do what?" "Let people in." Julian stared into the flames. "People want to be close to the version of me that benefits them. And me? You get too close to the version I try to hide." Clara turned her body toward him, curling her legs beneath her. "Then why let me in at all?" He looked at her, really looked. And then he said it. "Because the truth with you hurts less than the lie without you." She didn't know who moved first. Maybe it was her, maybe it was him. Maybe the space between them finally gave out. But suddenly, his hand was on her cheek, and her lips were on his. And the kiss was nothing like the fake ones they'd practiced for cameras. This one broke rules. This one burned. Her hands curled into his shirt. His fingers slid into her hair. Their breaths tangled. Their bodies pulled closer like magnets unburied after too long. He kissed her like he'd been waiting. She kissed him like she'd forgotten it was pretend. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, the fire had burned down to coals. Clara pulled away first. "This isn't in the contract." Julian's voice was hoarse. "No. It complicates everything. I know. We're going to regret it. I already don't." She stood, heart thudding. "I should go." He didn't stop her this time, but as she left the room, she heard him whisper, "Clara." She paused. "I don't know how to be good at this," he said, "but I'm trying, for you." And it was the most honest thing he'd ever said. The next morning, everything had changed, except nothing had. They didn't talk about the kiss, they didn't touch, but the space between them hummed like a live wire. At breakfast, she poured his coffee before he asked. He buttered her toast without thinking. Their eyes met too long. Their hands brushed too often. And when the doorbell rang, breaking their fragile bubble, they both flinched. Julian opened the door, and standing there was Isabel Monroe. In black leather, red lips, and a smile like poison. "Well," she purred, eyes sliding to Clara behind him, "this just got interesting." Clara didn't like the way Isabel said her name, like she was a temporary stain on Julian's perfect life, a wrinkle to iron out. "I hope I'm not interrupting," Isabel said, stepping inside without invitation. Julian didn't stop her. He just stepped aside, jaw locked. Clara folded her arms across her sweater. "This is private property." Isabel's eyes flicked over her. "Oh, sweetheart, everything's private when you're rich enough." Julian closed the door. "What do you want?" "To talk," Isabel said smoothly, "about the engagement, about the press, about the obvious lie you're both telling." Clara stiffened. Julian's voice turned cold. "Watch it." Isabel laughed. "Oh, please, Julian. You think the world actually believes you fell for a kindergarten teacher from nowhere? You've never even let a woman stay overnight before her. Now you're marrying one?" Clara felt her stomach twist, but her voice stayed calm. "Some people do fall in love outside of contracts." Isabel turned to her, "And some people fall in love with dollar signs." Julian stepped between them, his body language protective in a way Clara had never seen before. "You're wasting your time," he said. "Clara's not going anywhere." Isabel's lips curved. "Oh, I think she is, once she learns what you've been hiding." He went still. "Don't." She arched an eyebrow. "You haven't told her yet, have you?" "Told me what?" Clara asked. Julian's eyes flicked to her, but only for a second, and that second was enough. "I'll leave you two," said sweetly, stepping back toward the door. "After all, you should have privacy when your whole world falls apart." And then she was gone. Clara stared at Julian. What is she talking about? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he poured himself a drink at 10 in the morning and stood by the window, silent. "I deserve to know," Clara said quietly. Julian's voice was low. "She's manipulating you. And you're not?" That hurt him. She saw it. A flicker in his eyes, a crack in the stone. Finally, he said, 3 years ago, Isabel was pregnant. Clara blinked. What? She said it was mine, he continued. We weren't exclusive, and I didn't love her, but I was prepared to step up. He looked at his glass, but didn't drink. Then she miscarried, or said she did, but there were inconsistencies, rumors. My voyeurs found out she might have faked the entire thing. I ended it. Clara's throat tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to think I was capable of loving someone like her. She stepped back. That's not your decision. He looked at her. No, but I knew if Isabel came back, she'd use it, twist it, make you think I was the monster. And you thought keeping it from me would stop that? I thought, he said, voice raw, I could protect you from the part of me that still bleeds. They didn't talk for the rest of the day. Clara wandered the lake trail alone, rain boots crunching leaves. Her thoughts spun. Julian's words echoed. So did Isabel's. You're just another pawn. But Julian wasn't a man who begged. He wasn't a man who explained. And he had. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because somewhere beneath the contracts and facades and cold suits, he trusted her. That night, she found him in the library, sitting on the floor between two bookshelves, shirt sleeves rolled, tie loose, drink untouched. He didn't look up when she walked in. I'm not leaving, she said, his head tilted, barely. But I need you to stop pushing me away, she continued. If we're going to lie together, Julian, we can't lie to each other. Silence. Then he looked up, and in his eyes she saw it. Not guilt, not fear, not the CEO mask he wore in boardrooms. She saw a man terrified of being truly seen. Clara knelt in front of him, touching his hand. I see you, she whispered, and I'm still here. He closed his eyes and let himself breathe. Snow arrived early that year. It dusted the roof of Julian's estate like powdered sugar. It coated the long pine driveway. It turned the lake to glass and the sky to silence. Clara woke to a different world, one where she felt, unexpectedly, at peace. The kiss hadn't happened again, but something had changed between them since the storm, since the night she found him in the library, unraveling quietly in that perfect suit. Now, Julian made her coffee in the morning. Now, she folded his sweaters when the staff left them on the wrong shelf. Now, they existed like partners, almost. And then came the news. You have a visitor, the butler said quietly. Clara descended the stairs in a cream cable knit dress, hair still damp from her morning shower. She expected Isabel, maybe Julian's mother, another PR ambush. She didn't expect a woman with stormy gray eyes holding a baby. The woman looked tired, thin, maybe 35. She clutched the child to her chest protectively. Clara Bennett? She asked. Clara nodded slowly. Yes? The woman hesitated. This is going to sound strange, but I need Julian Hart. I was told this is where he lives now. Clara blanked. I'm sorry, who are you? The woman swallowed. My name is Hannah, and this, she looked down at the baby, this is Elijah, Julian's son. Julian's reaction was quiet, too quiet. He stood like a statue in the front hallway, watching Hannah like she was a ghost. Julian, she whispered, it's really you. Hannah, he said, voice low, I thought you were in London. I was. You told me you were going to terminate. I didn't. Clara's heart thudded. The baby, Elijah, had thick dark hair and pale gray eyes, just like Julian. Hannah explained everything over tea. They'd had a brief relationship before Isabel. She'd gotten pregnant. He'd offered support, offered everything, but she refused. Said she didn't want to be another name in the tabloids. She left. Now she was back. Not for money, not for headlines, just for answers. I wanted him to know who his father was, Hannah said, stroking Elijah's cheek, even if you never want to see us again. Julian looked wrecked. "I want to see him," he said quietly. "I want to know him." Clara sat on the edge of the armchair, trying not to unravel. She had no right to feel anything. This was before her, before their arrangement, before the kiss, before the silence that now felt like a language between them. Still, the ache bloomed in her chest like frostbite. That night, Julian found her in the kitchen, staring at the snow-covered garden. "You should hate me," he said. Clara turned slowly. "Why?" "I didn't know about Elijah, but I could have tried harder to keep her close. I was afraid, and I walked away." Clara searched his face. "You weren't ready then," she said gently. "Maybe you are now." He looked at her, really looked. And then, almost brokenly, "I don't want to lose what we're building." She blanked. "What are we building, Julian?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer and rested his forehead against hers. No kiss, just breath, just a moment. The next morning, Clara woke to laughter. She padded barefoot down the hall and peeked into the sunroom. There was Julian, on the floor, cross-legged, holding Elijah up like an airplane. The baby giggled. Julian smiled, really smiled. Clara stood there, unnoticed, watching, breathing in a version of him she hadn't seen before. And in that moment, she realized, the man she was supposed to fake a life with was, slowly, painfully, beautifully becoming real. 3 days passed. 3 days of snow, of baby giggles echoing through cold stone hallways, of Clara watching Julian hold his son like something both fragile and unfathomably powerful. She wasn't sure what she was supposed to feel. Relief? Jealousy? Longing? Or all of it, tangled in the kind of quiet heartbreak that made no sound, but hurt just the same. "Clara," Julian said on the 4th night, "will you help me?" She was curled on the library couch in thick socks and an oversized cardigan, reading a book she hadn't actually turned a page of in over an hour. With what? "Elijah doesn't sleep unless someone sings to him." She blinked. "You want me to sing?" "You're a kindergarten teacher," he said. "Isn't that part of the resume?" She gave him a dry look. "So is finger painting. Want me to do that too?" His mouth twitched. "Not yet." She held Elijah close that night, rocking him in a soft gray blanket. His tiny fist curled into her shoulder, his eyelashes fluttered, and she sang. A lullaby her mother used to hum when the lights flickered during winter storms. Julian stood by the door and said nothing, just watched. When the baby finally drifted off, Clara gently placed him in the crib. She turned and found Julian staring at her like she was made of glass. "You look like someone who belongs in his life," he whispered. She swallowed. "That's not in the contract." "No," he said, "it's not." Later, they sat on the living room floor, drinking tea in silence. The fire crackled. Snowflakes spiraled outside. "I've been thinking," Julian said. "Dangerous," she teased softly. He smiled faintly. "If this were real, what would it take for you to stay?" Clara stared at the flames. "Do you want it to be real?" Julian didn't answer immediately. Then, "I didn't, but I do now." Her breath caught. He continued, voice lower. "I want mornings with you barefoot in my sweater. I want your voice in that nursery. I want your name next to mine, not on a document, in life." Tears stung her eyes. "But I don't want you to choose me because you feel obligated," he said. "I want you to choose me even if everything else disappears." The next day, Clara walked into the city, alone, to clear her head, to escape the way Julian looked at her like she was home. She sat at a cafe with her hands wrapped around a mug and tried to remember the rules. This started as survival, then convenience, then safety. And now? Now she couldn't tell where the lie ended and the truth began, and that terrified her more than anything Isabel could say. When she returned, Julian was waiting at the door, Elijah asleep on his shoulder. "I thought you left," he said. "I did," she said softly, "but only for air." He nodded. She reached out and brushed her fingers across Elijah's little back. "He's perfect." Julian's voice was rough. "So are you." Clara looked up. "What if I don't know how to do this?" "Then we learn together," he said. Later that night, Clara stood at the balcony, watching the snow fall again. Julian joined her in silence. She turned to him. "I want to stay." His jaw flexed. "As my fiancé?" She shook her head. "As someone who might love you." Julian's expression cracked open, relief and wonder and fear all at once. And then, slowly, he reached for her. And this time when he kissed her, it wasn't about pretending. It was about becoming. There were kisses meant for cameras. There were kisses meant to prove a point. And then, there was this one. Clara wasn't sure how long it lasted. Long enough for the snow to settle around them like feathers. Long enough for her hands to slip into Julian's hair. Long enough to forget who started it. But not long enough to forget what it meant. Because this kiss, on the balcony under a gray velvet sky, wasn't part of their script. It was the moment the contract burned. They didn't say anything after. Not, "I love you," not, "What are we doing?" Not even, "Stay." Julian simply took her hand and led her back inside. No fireworks, no wild rush to the bedroom. Just stillness, breath, reverence. He tucked a throw blanket around her as she curled up on the sofa. He poured her a glass of water. And when he sat beside her, their knees brushed and stayed touching. The silence between them was different now. Not sharp, not uncertain, soft, heavy, full of the things they weren't quite ready to say. The next morning, Clara woke up in the guest room, alone. But her pillow smelled like him. She dressed slowly, cream sweater dress, leggings, flat boots, and walked into the kitchen to find Julian feeding Elijah a bottle, still in gray sweatpants and a Henley shirt. He looked happy, real, and somehow heartbreakingly human. Clara leaned against the doorframe. "You're getting good at that." Julian looked up. He didn't scream this time. "Elijah or you?" He smirked. "Both." She crossed the room and kissed the top of the baby's head. "You ever think maybe you were meant to be a father?" His eyes met hers. "Only since you walked in." Later that afternoon, Clara stood in the nursery, folding baby clothes, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Clara Bennett?" the voice asked. "Yes." "This is Madison Lee. I'm the senior editor at the Silver Ledger. We're doing a feature on your engagement and the sudden emergence of Mr. Hart's child. We'd love to get your comment." Clara's stomach dropped. "What? How did you get this number?" "Sources," Madison said smoothly. "We'd also like to verify a rumor that you were paid to fake the engagement, possibly in exchange for debt relief." Clara's grip on the phone tightened. "That's not true." "So you deny the allegations?" "There are no allegations." "Would you like to schedule an exclusive? It would help control the narrative." Clara hung up. And then, slowly, she sat down in the nursery chair and cried. Julian found her there 20 minutes later. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just knelt beside her and held her knees in his hands. "I got a call," she whispered. "They know. About us. About Elijah. They think I'm some paid actress." He was silent. "I never wanted this," she said, choking on the words. "Not the lies, not the spotlight. I just wanted to survive." Julian stood and pulled her to her feet. "You're not surviving anymore," he said. She looked up at him. "What am I doing?" He touched her face. "Changing my life." That night, Julian held a press conference. He didn't warn Clara, didn't even tell her what he planned to say. He just walked into the press room in a navy blue Tom Ford suit, eyes steel and voice steady. "I have nothing to hide," he told the sea of reporters. "Yes, this engagement began as a contract. Yes, Clara Bennett agreed to help me repair my public image after the fallout with Isabel Monroe. But what we never expected, what I never expected, was to find something real in the middle of something fake." He looked straight into the camera. "I love her. I love my son. And I won't apologize for who I've become because of them." Clara watched from the nursery. Elijah gurgled in her arms. Snow fell against the windows like a blessing. She wasn't a pawn anymore. She was his beginning. And maybe he was hers too. The press conference shattered the internet. Clips of Julian's confession trended within minutes. Hashtags like #HeartTruth, #ClaraBennett, and Real Love or Rebound dominated every platform. Some praised his honesty. Some called it a PR stunt. Some dragged Clara's name through the dirt again. And through it all, she stayed quiet. Not because she was afraid, but because for the first time, someone else was fighting for her. Julian didn't hide her. He didn't protect her with silence. He stood next to her, in front of her, with her. And Clara had no idea how to feel about that kind of love. Because it was love now, undeniably, unravelably. 3 days later, her father called. She hadn't spoken to him in months, not since the engagement. Clara stared at the screen before answering. "Dad?" His voice was quieter than she remembered. "Saw you on the news. I figured." A pause. "He loves you." Clara blanked. "How can you be sure?" "Because I know what it looks like to love someone the world doesn't think you deserve." Tears filled her eyes. "Come home sometime," her dad said. "Bring him. Bring the baby." She didn't promise anything. But for the first time in years, home didn't feel like something she had to run from. Julian noticed her change. She smiled more, laughed softer, stopped looking over her shoulder. "You're glowing," he murmured one night, brushing his fingers through her hair as she sat on his lap in the library. "I think it's the firelight." He kissed her temple. "I think it's you." She looked up. "You've changed too, you know."
"How?" "You're softer, calmer, still terrifying, obviously, but in a less stock market murder kind of way." He chuckled. "That's romantic." She grinned. "I know." Then came the invitation. Heart Global Gala. Annual, formal, black tie. Only this time, Julian wanted Clara as his real date. "Not as a fiancé," he said, "not as a PR prop, as mine." Clara stared at the navy velvet envelope. "You know they'll tear me apart again." Julian stepped closer. "Then let them. I'll still be holding your hand." The night of the gala, she wore emerald green, a gown that wrapped around her like silk rain. Off-shoulder, fitted bodice, soft waves in her chestnut hair, a single diamond at her throat. Julian's mother's pendant, which he'd quietly given her that morning without explanation. Julian wore a black velvet tux. No tie, just an open collar and that steel-cut jawline. Handsome was too small a word for him that night. When he took her hand in front of the cameras, flashes erupted. And Clara, she didn't flinch. She looked right into the lens and smiled. Inside the gala, whispers followed them like shadows. Isabel was there, of course, draped in silver, eyes like razors. "Still playing house," she purred when they passed. Julian didn't stop walking, but he said over his shoulder, "No, just being one." Clara squeezed his hand, and for the first time, Isabel had nothing to say. Hours later, Julian pulled Clara out onto the balcony. The city sparkled below, champagne lights, winter air. Her cheeks flushed from laughter and wine. "You survived," he said. She leaned into his coat. "We survived." He tilted her face to his. "You changed me," he whispered. Clara shook her head. "No, you found yourself. I just saw it first." He smiled. "Then marry me." Her heart stopped. "What?" "Marry me," he repeated, "for real this time. No contracts, no lawyers, just us, just love." She searched his face and found everything she needed. "Yes," she whispered. "God, yes." The next morning, a new hashtag trended. #FakeFiancé_RealFeelings. And this time, the world didn't mock them. It celebrated them. Everything was supposed to feel perfect. The proposal, the way Julian asked, bare hands, no cameras, no noise. Just breath and snow and his voice in her ear like a promise she'd waited a lifetime to hear. And Clara had said yes. Not because the world wanted her to, but because she wanted to. because somewhere along the way, in the middle of pretending, she had fallen into something real, something fragile, something wild, something worth staying for. But reality didn't disappear just because they changed the rules. Now came the real engagement, the real planning, the real family meetings. And the first of those? Julian's mother. Vivian Hart arrived with a fur coat over her shoulders and ice in her tone. "I thought you were smarter than this," she said. "Falling for the help? Is this what your father's legacy means to you?" Clara stayed silent, not because she was intimidated, but because she knew fire burned hotter when it didn't get oxygen. Julian stood between them, his voice calm and lethal. "She's not the help. She's the woman I love, the one I'm marrying, and you'll speak to her with respect." Vivian's mouth tightened. "This marriage won't last." Julian's gaze didn't waver. It already has. Afterward, Clara found Julian alone in the garden. He was leaning against the stone archway, the last golden light of afternoon touching his jaw. "She hates me," Clara said softly. "She hates losing control. She thinks I'm a mistake." Julian turned to her. "She thought my father marrying a French painter was a mistake. He stayed with her until the day he died." Clara blinked. "Your mother isn't French." "No," he said, mouth tugging at a faint smile. "The painter came after." She laughed, startled. "So scandal runs in the family." Julian touched her cheek. "So does choosing love." The days that followed blurred into lists, fittings, flower samples, calligraphy, and press coordination. Clara didn't care about any of it. She only cared about the way Julian looked at her when no one else was watching. She only cared about the nursery and Elijah's tiny laugh and the sound of Julian humming under his breath when he thought no one was listening. But the night before the wedding, she panicked. She stood alone in the master bedroom, staring at her reflection. White slip dress, no makeup, bare feet on cold floors. "What if I mess this up?" she whispered. Julian appeared in the doorway. "You won't." "I don't come from this world," she said. "I don't know which fork is for fish, or what legacy I'm supposed to uphold, or how to stay perfect when everyone's waiting for me to fall apart." Julian crossed the room. "You're not marrying this house, or the press, or my mother. You're marrying me." She looked up. "And I'm marrying you," he said, "because you saw me when I didn't want to be seen. You loved me when I didn't deserve it. And if I had to build this life again from nothing, bare hands, no money, no name, I'd still choose you." Tears slid down her cheeks. Julian kissed them away. Later that night, she lay in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling. "Tell me something true," she whispered. Julian turned toward her. "I'm afraid." "Of what?" "That I'll wake up and you'll be gone." She turned to face him. "I'm not going anywhere." Outside, snow began to fall. Soft, silent, certain. Like everything worth holding on to. The morning of the wedding was unnaturally quiet. No ringing phones, no makeup teams rushing, no photographers circling like hawks. Just sunlight slipping through sheer curtains, the sound of Elijah giggling in the next room, and Clara sitting at the edge of her bed in a silk robe, staring at the dress that had changed everything. It was soft ivory, no beads, no sparkle, just fabric that whispered against the skin, elegant like a secret only they shared. Julian hadn't texted her that morning. It was the first time they hadn't spoken before noon since the fake engagement began. She missed his voice, missed the gravel of it, the steadiness, the warmth that had crept in over time, like spring breaking through ice. But he'd left something outside her door, a box. Inside, a single white rose, a tiny silver giraffe charm bracelet, and a letter. "I was never afraid of commitment. I was afraid of losing control. But you showed me that love isn't control, it's surrender. And if loving you means surrendering everything I thought made me powerful, then let me fall. Let me fall into you. J." Clara pressed the note to her chest and exhaled. She didn't know how it would feel to walk down that aisle, but she knew who she'd be walking toward. The wedding was held in the winter garden at the back of the Hart estate. Glass ceilings, bare trees wrapped in fairy lights, a white aisle laid with fresh pine. Only 40 guests, close friends,
family, and a few trusted colleagues. No press, no photos, no show. Just them. Just real. Clara stepped out in her gown, cheeks flushed, eyes wide with wonder. Julian stood at the altar, in a charcoal suit, no tie, his hair slightly tousled. And when he saw her, he smiled. Not the curated kind, not the polite one from magazines, the kind that reached his steel gray eyes and made them soften into silver. Clara's step slowed. Every moment of their story came rushing back. The fake smiles, the contract, the tension, the kiss, the truth. All of it had led here. Julian took her hands as she reached the altar. "You came," he whispered. "I never left," she answered. The officiant spoke, but Clara barely heard the words. Her heart was louder. Then it was time for vows. Julian went first.
I built my life out of walls, contracts, calculations, but nothing I built ever felt like home until you. You are the only thing I want to come home to for the rest of my life." Clara's eyes welled up. Then her turn. "I didn't come into your world to fix you. I came because I thought I had nothing left. But you showed me what it means to be chosen every day, even when it's hard, even when I don't ask. And now, I choose you, Julian, again and again." Tears, smiles, the kind of silence that feels sacred. "You may kiss the bride," the officiant said. Julian didn't wait. He kissed her like the storm had never touched them, like they had always been building toward this, like his mouth finally found the place it belonged. Later, at the reception, Elijah gurgled in Clara's arms as Julian twirled her beneath the garden lights. "I never imagined this," she said, forehead to his chest. "What?" "That I'd fall in love while pretending to love someone." Julian kissed the top of her head. "It was never pretend. We just hadn't caught up to it yet." That night, after the guests were gone, they lay in bed, husband and wife. No lies, no deals, just the quiet, real thing they'd built from ashes. Clara traced his collarbone in the dark. "What now?" Julian smiled. "Now, we live." Epilogue. Spring. Elijah's first birthday. Laughter echoed in the same garden where they were married. Clara wore a blue sundress. Julian chased Elijah across the grass with bare feet and joy in his eyes. No photographers, no scandals, no headlines. Just a family. Just love. Just real.